I'm just doing it now. All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's go on. Okay. Another upward movement on the S&P and U.S. stock indexes on Friday afternoon. On really light volume, but still just kind of drifting up all day nonetheless. Took us to new all-time closing highs on the S&P 500. And yeah, we've seen over the past couple sessions, we've really seen a lot of all-time closing highs on many of the global indices in the last couple trading sessions. Our local indice being one of those included. We saw very little on Friday to give us any leadership. Had some new home sales numbers, which were really, not enough probably to really drive markets, obviously, but we still saw the market kind of rallying. We saw some of the home builders running on the back of that, and we saw some of the an outperformance in the Nasdaq and the Russell a little bit, which obviously have been the laggard as of recently. So I think also kind of helping to buoy the market, but very very little to kind of go with in terms of leadership. We had stocks in Asia that were mostly up. We did have the Kospi that was down, and the Hang Seng that was down literally a scrap. But decent day out of the Nikkei, with the yen continuing to show some weakness there. We did see some of the tech shares and Japan leading the way there. And then we saw some of the resource stocks trading pretty well. Rio Tinto, Fortescue, to name a couple. In Australia, we've got copper pushing several month highs, and a huge reversal really from the lows out of the copper price, and really moving totally counterintuitive to the iron ore price, which is quite impressive. Obviously, the iron ore has a big supply issue, but iron ore also has been falling on the big worries out of China. You would have thought you'd see something closer to the same out of copper. So kind of interesting that's managed to turn around and so strongly. For the perma bears out there, this chart is actually it's quite telling. When you look at the size of the drawdowns and the length of period of the drawdowns, there's been, we have seen some big drawdowns, obviously, but the majority of time we really pushing higher and pushing higher for a hell of a lot longer, and the rallies are much more extended, obviously, typically than the bear market sell-offs. And when the bear market sell-offs are happening, they're obviously very short and protracted, but vicious. But I think this is incredibly important. Once markets really turn around and start to make those moves to the upside, there's very, very, very few periods. In fact, the shortest period ever you can see here would have been in the early 70s, where we had a kind of a 30-month up move. That was the shortest period ever. So keep that in mind after our next pullback. That 30 months has been the shortest period ever since the Great Depression that we've had a bull market run. So that's something to stick in your long-term memory bank, trading memory bank. All right, this morning we had Lovo Sugar, which was out with numbers. Headline earnings per share came in at 194. It was a touch below guidance, which was below what expectations were, so probably a little bit negative on that side, but the revenue numbers look like a solid beat, which is really weird. Not sure if there were any one-offs there, but divvy per share came in a touch light as well at 60 cents. The expectation was for 63. The JSE today has a regular and a special div, so we got $4 coming off of JSE first thing this morning. Keep that in mind if you're punting that by any chance. And then absolutely nothing going on today in terms of market data. We have PPI numbers coming out of Spain, and that is it. A couple other things that we did have that happened over the weekend. We had some of these European parliamentary elections that we really see some of the radical parties starting to gain some strength there. Some of the anti-Euro parties in France that's really gained some strength, and also the very right-wing anti-bailout party in Greece that looks to have really gained control there. So I think those are really important points that we're going to need to start following in Europe. You've seen the yields start to push higher again in Greece. And as these parties gain strength, it'll be interesting to see how they continue to move today, in the next, couple weeks and months as those groups gain more traction. All right. First thing we're going to look at this morning is that's not it. Is the S&P, which obviously closed at an all-time high. I was reading something this morning saying, what do they call it? I think they called it the S&P 500 sleepwalking to new all-time highs. That's a perfect way to put it, because that's kind of what it feels like. It's every day is low volume. Every day is kind of a drift and a grind, and we get these little moves up, and it almost seems like no one believes it. The down days are definitely seeing much higher intensity, much higher volumes. And then the up days just seem to kind of be smaller moves and in very light volumes, and really just kind of drifting higher. So you can see there we're pushing out the top there in the S&P 500. Obviously has a higher target, probably about 50, 60 points, but either way, moving to all-time highs again, along with a lot of the other indexes. All right, BGA. I just looked at this morning. If you look on a closing basis from where the October closing high was last year, we actually just broke out above that on a closing basis, and we've really, if you move this in a little bit closer, we've really been consolidating quite hard at just below the resistance of this pattern. In fact, I can take that a little bit lower because I've drawn that a little bit too high from the closing basis point of view. And you can see here, there's a lot of touches on on the wicks of this level, probably as many as 5 or 6, and a couple that got within probably 50 cents. So there's definitely been some sort of consolidation underneath this, and a bit of a breakout there. I mean, if this continues on, it might be a reason to start to look to exit the Barclays group shorts. All right, let's look at Harmony. Harmony, we'll look here on the 1 year. This is one that I've been waiting for forever. There's sorry, let me zoom this forward a little bit. You can see here, really, we got a little bit of a fake out on one of the previous days, and let me actually just take this all the way down to the wicks to get it drawn a little bit better. And we're going to use the wicks and the close from our low, our previous low in May. And you can see there on Friday we closed below that for the first time in ages. Sorry, I'm actually looking at the New York price, but the chart looks almost identical. You can see there we finally popped below the on the local price as well. So Friday we got a nice breakdown. We also got that close below that or right at that $3 level in the States, which I think is important. It's the low close starting to push lower. You have more of a definitive breakout here to the downside, and really out of probably a second little head and shoulders pattern that we're dropping here. So the level we dropped was about call it 3170, and from the top of the range there was about 3570. So I think we've got about 4 rand of downside from that 3170 level to take us down to about 2770, and percentage-wise a hell of a long way down from here. All right, Cecil I think is one that we're going to have to be careful of today. This one, it really looked like it gave us a fail a few sessions ago, and then on really light volume, you can see in that green candle, after it looked like it had given us that fail and we were trading at about $80, that day they closed it up about 3 rand in the auction off of the lows, and then the next day in light volume just took us right back up to about 600. And we closed a little bit above 600 on Friday. Remember, we have closed a touch above 600 before, but it's starting to feel now like that may have been a bit of the turn there, and Friday's action also was very solid. Today in light volume, wouldn't be surprised to see them take this thing up, and on a breakout here above 600 in Cecil. Right, let's look at Truworths. Truworths making a bit of a bull flag here. after making a hell of a strong run and pulling back nicely to about 82 a couple days ago, right at the 200-day moving average, as you can see there. Really finding some support, and then traded really well on Thursday's session. Friday we get a little bit of a continuation to get us to close up just north of 84, and I think that's it looks here on the charts like it was enough to really get us up above this flag. I think we're going to need a little bit more confirmation, maybe getting it up to 85 and north of 85 before we really want to believe that this thing can go higher. But if we do get above 85, I think this thing can probably start to push up again. And then the last one we're going to show here is Telkom. Telkom, which we very rarely look at. You can see here very clearly defined support level at about 37.50, dropped out on Friday, and I think to a target that we're probably going to look at is about $2.30 or so to the downside of that 37.50 level. So probably coming in closer to support around 34.20 in the next little place to have a look at potentially nibbling on Telkom. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.